Before we begin, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more bedtime stories. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from, and what time it is. And if there's a story you'd like to hear next, I'd love to know that too.
I never thought a job at a KFC would change the way I look at people forever. When I tell folks I used to work there, they imagine I quit because of the grease, the rush hours, or the rude customers. But honestly, those were the easy parts. The real reason I left. Most people wouldn't believe it, even if they tried. Back then, I was living in a small town in Hollow Creek, Pennsylvania, after dropping out of community college. Money was tight, rent was due, and KFC was the only place hiring without asking too many questions. I took the front counter job because I liked talking to people. I figured it'd be better than sweating in the kitchen. Turns out, talking to people is exactly what almost got me killed. The KFC I worked at was right off the old interstate, dead at night, busy in the day, and always attracting weirdos after 10 p.m. Our manager used to joke, "Nothing good happens after dark in Hollow Creek." We all laughed. I don't anymore. My backstory, realistic for audience engagement. I wasn't living with family. My mom passed when I was 15, and my dad remarried fast, too fast. I never vibed with my stepmom, so the second I turned 18, I left. My uncle let me crash at his trailer, but he drank too much and yelled even more, so I dipped and moved into a cheap shared apartment with two strangers. Rent was $430 a month, still too much for me, so I took every extra shift I could get. I had no big dreams at that point. No self-help goals, no big plans, just survival. And that's exactly why the night I'm about to tell you hit me so hard. When survival becomes a choice, not a default, you see yourself differently. Anyway, enough of the past. Let me get into what happened that night. It was a hot July Friday, around 11:45 p.m., 15 minutes before closing. The dining area was empty, the fryers were cooling down, and the entire store smelled like old grease and Pine Sol. I was counting the register, writing numbers on the closing sheet. Our night cook, Ralph, a stocky, soft-spoken guy who recently moved from Ohio, was cleaning the back sink. Everyone liked him. He kept to himself, didn't gossip, didn't get involved in drama. He told me once he used to be a forklift operator until he injured his shoulder. KFC was temporary for him, he said. Funny thing, life rarely tells you what's temporary and what isn't. Anyway, I was finishing up paperwork when the front door slammed open, making me jump so hard I dropped a handful of quarters. Two boys walked in, and instantly, the air changed. Not horror movie dramatic, just wrong. Like something was off the moment they stepped inside. They looked about 16 or 17, too young to be wandering around at midnight alone. The first one had ash blonde hair, unevenly cut, like someone hacked it with dull scissors, pale as printer paper, with freckles that almost looked like scars. His hoodie was oversized and torn at the sleeves. The second boy had long, grease-matted hair tied in a sloppy bun, wearing a ripped denim jacket even though it was humid out. His clothes hung off him like they belonged to someone else, someone bigger, maybe older. Both had that dirty, unwashed smell that hits you like a wall. I tried to stay professional. "Hey, welcome to KFC," I said. "We're closing soon, but I can take one last order." Blonde boy leaned on the counter, staring at me with this dead, empty expression. "Bucket," he said, voice cold, monotone. The other kid didn't speak, just kept his eyes locked on me, slow blinking, barely breathing. Something about him felt off, not nervous, not shy, just wrong. I cleared my throat. "What size bucket?" "Biggest one you got." He dropped a crumpled $20 bill on the counter. His fingernails were black with dirt. One nail looked cracked down the middle. I forced a smile. "Sure thing. You guys can grab a seat." They didn't move. They just stared. Finally, blonde boy said, "We'll sit when you're done." I nodded quickly and walked to the kitchen to give the order to Ralph. "Last one of the night," I said, handing him the ticket. Ralph stretched his neck. "God, finally." He glanced at the dining area. "Customers look rough." "Yeah," I whispered. "Something's off about them." He chuckled, not mocking, just casual. "It's Hollow Creek. Everybody's off." "Can you hurry?" I said. "I don't want to deal with them longer than necessary." Yeah, keep an eye on them. I'll bring the bucket out." I returned to the front, only to see both boys wandering around the dining area, touching salt shakers, peeking into trash cans, staring at the soda machine. The blonde one was eyeing the security camera above the corner, too closely. I swallowed hard. "Everything okay?" I asked. He didn't answer, just smiled a slow, unsettling smile. After a minute, they sat at a table but leaned toward each other, whispering, giving me side glances. That's when I caught their names. "Knox," the blonde one said, and the other replied softly, "Yeah, Riven." Knox, Riven. Not common names, not friendly names. Names you'd hear in a news report after something bad happened. Riven kept staring at me, hard, licking his chapped lips every now and then like some twitchy habit. His face had tiny cut marks, healed and fresh ones both. I pretended not to notice. After 3 or 4 minutes, Riven stood up and casually walked out the front door. I hesitated before asking Knox, "Everything all right?" "Where'd your friend go?" He smirked. "To take a leak. There's a restroom inside. He likes outside better." I didn't know what to say, so I just nodded awkwardly. Minutes passed. Ralph still didn't come out. That wasn't normal. "Hey, I'll go check on your order," I told Knox. He tilted his head. "You do that." Something cold slid down my spine. The kitchen lights were still on when I reached the swinging door, but the second I stepped inside, everything went pitch black. Not a flicker, not a brownout. A full, intentional cut. I froze. The highway lights outside were still visible through the back window, so it wasn't a neighborhood outage. My heartbeat jumped. "Ralph?" I whispered. Nothing. I pulled out my phone to turn on the flashlight. Before the light even came on fully, my foot slid. Splash. A sticky, warm, metallic-smelling liquid coated my shoe. Instant dread wrapped around my throat. "Ralph?" My voice trembled. I pointed the flashlight downward, and my whole world cracked open. Ralph was lying on the floor, face down, blood pooling around him. A deep stab wound in his back, shirt soaked, arm twisted unnaturally. I gasped so loud I almost choked. My hands started shaking uncontrollably. I turned, desperate to run. Knox was standing inches behind me, his hoodie splattered with blood, a kitchen knife dripping in his right hand. He grinned, a cold, hollow, dead boy grin. "Looking for the chicken?" he whispered. I stumbled backward, hitting the metal prep counter. The back door was behind me. I bolted toward it, but right as I reached the handle, Riven appeared from the back exit, blocking it, taller than I realized. Matted hair hanging, wide-eyed, knife in hand. He stepped inside, shut the door behind him, and I understood everything. They didn't come for food. They didn't come for money. They came for a victim. What do you want?" I stammered. Knox laughed softly, a dead, broken laugh. "We want what everybody else wants," he said. "A little fun." Riven glanced at Knox. "We're taking the money too, right?" Knox shrugged. "Sure, why not?" They pushed me toward the dining area. My head hit the counter edge when Riven shoved me too hard. Blood trickled down my forehead. My vision blurred. Knox leaned close. "Open the register." I swallowed my fear. I had to think fast. I can't," I lied. "It's automated, needs the computer." Knox raised a brow. "Is that right?" "Yes," I whispered. "If I don't log in, it won't open." They whispered to each other, a hushed, frantic tone. Then Knox snapped his fingers at Riven. "Turn the power back on." Riven rushed to the back. When the lights flicked on, Knox said, "Turn off the cameras." My heart hammered. I could have pretended, could have left them on and let their whole crime get recorded. But no, a darker idea, an instinct for survival, flashed inside me. I actually turned the cameras off because I wasn't planning to let these boys leave. I opened the cash drawer, hands trembling, stacked the cash neatly into a bag. Knox stepped close to grab it. That's when I made my move. I grabbed Knox's head with both hands and slammed it against the marble counter. Hard. So hard his nose split instantly. Blood sprayed the register. He collapsed, gasping, dazed. I snatched my phone from his pocket. Riven heard the noise and sprinted out of the kitchen. Knox, but I was already ready. I threw a fistful of red chili flakes straight into his eyes, stolen earlier when the lights went out. He screamed, an animal sound, dropping to his knees, clawing at his face. I ripped the knife out of his hand, and something inside me snapped. Survival mode. Pure instinct. I stabbed Riven first, then Knox. Again, and again. It wasn't rage, not vengeance. It was survival. When the room finally went silent, my whole body shook uncontrollably. I cleaned everything, wiped blood from the tiles, washed the counters, bleached the floor, wrapped the boys in thick garbage bags, dragging their bodies one by one to the basement, half slipping on the metal stairs. The KFC had an incinerator for kitchen waste. Nobody but managers had access, but I'd seen the key left out a few times. I burned their bodies, watched them disappear into flame and ash. I called 911 afterward, breath shaky, voice cracked. "There were 2 boys," I sobbed. "They killed our cook, tried to rob us. I escaped. They ran." The cops believed everything. Why wouldn't they? The cameras showed the boys entering the store, wandering around, and nothing else. News reported them as 2 runaway delinquents who murdered a KFC worker and assaulted a female employee before fleeing town. Everybody called me a survivor, a poor victim. People brought me cookies, hugged me, prayed for me. But no one knew the truth. No one knew I was the last face those boys ever saw. I kept working for a month, played the terrified employee role perfectly. Then I quit, moved back to my hometown. They still think the boys are wanted, still think they got away. But the truth? They never walked out of Hollow Creek, not alive. I never thought a part-time job at a KFC in a nowhere town like Hollis Creek, Indiana, would be the thing that messed with my head for years after. But that's usually how it goes in places like this. Nothing ever really happens until something finally does. And by the time you realize how bad it is, you're already inside it. Back then, I was just a broke college sophomore at Hollis Creek Community College, majoring in criminal justice, even though I had no idea if I'd ever actually work in law enforcement. I took the major because my dad loved the idea of it, and I loved the idea of not arguing with him. I was 20, tired all the time, and driving a 2005 Corolla with a dented bumper. So when KFC offered me the closing shift, $11.50 an hour plus whatever leftover food I wanted to take home, I took it. No hesitation. My name is Talon, by the way. Not Taylor, not Talon, just Talon. My mom made it up. The name always got me weird looks. Anyway, I worked with a pretty small crew. Lucas, the shift lead, 26, beard, sleepless eyes, always acting like he should have been managing a Michelin star restaurant instead of KFC. Renee, the cashier, 19, fast talker, loose ponytail, and a laugh that sounded like she was choking on soda. Jolt, dishwasher, fryer, back of house kid, 17, real name Joel, but everyone called him Jolt because he drank 4 Monster cans every shift. Last, there was our manager, Mr. Garner, mid-40s, pressed shirts, stiff posture, and a face that never changed expression. Not angry, not happy, just blank. Like someone halfway between waking and sleepwalking. I never liked being alone with him. Couldn't explain it. Didn't need to. I've always believed every horror story should start honest, real, grounded, because that's how real horror sneaks up on you. It doesn't walk through the door screaming. It starts with something so normal you don't question it. For me, it started with grease pans and a closing shift that felt like any other. It was mid-October, leaves turning brown, air cold enough to sting your knuckles when you stepped outside with the trash. I was mopping near the front counter while Renee counted the drawers. She sighed dramatically. Bro, I swear somebody paid today with like fake-ass Monopoly money. I laughed. Was it the guy with the trucker hat that said fart technician on it? Yes, dude smelled like diesel and despair. Sounds like half the town. She snorted like she always did when something really hit her. For real though. At that moment, nothing felt wrong. Just a normal night. Fluorescent lights humming, fryers sizzling, the smell of chicken so deep in my clothes I could taste it when I breathed. Then something weird happened. Lucas stepped out from the walk-in freezer carrying one of the new spice bags. But instead of tossing it on the prep table, he stared at it like he'd found a severed head in the freezer. Yo, you good? I asked. He held up the packet. You smell this? He tore the corner a little and held it out. I leaned in. The usual spice mix smelled kind of peppery, oily, savory. But this smelled sweet. Not like honey or sugar, more like flowers, chemical flowers. And beneath the sweetness, a sharp bitterness, the kind that sits behind your eyes. I blinked. What the hell is that? Lucas shook his head. No idea, but Garner said corporate sent a new blend. You sure it's safe? He shrugged. Man, it's KFC. Nothing in here is safe. We laughed, but the smell stayed in my nose all night, like it was burning itself into my memory. We didn't know yet, not even close, that this would be the night everything started going downhill. I took home a box of leftovers that night. Free food was free food, even if my stomach was tired of it. But when I sat on my couch, popped open Netflix, and took a bite, I froze. The batter tasted sweet, almost floral, with a bitter aftertaste that made my tongue tingle. Not numbing, just buzzing. Okay, that's not normal, I muttered. I sniffed the piece again like a dog checking for poison. Nothing seemed rotten. It didn't smell bad. It just smelled unfamiliar. I took another small bite. Same weird sweetness. Same tingle. Nope, I said aloud, tossing the box aside. I wasn't risking food poisoning for something I didn't even crave anymore. I opened my window and tossed the remaining pieces behind my apartment building. The stray dogs in the alley usually fought like gladiators over scraps. So when the chicken was still there the next morning, completely untouched, I felt a chill. Dogs in Hollis Creek would chew through plastic trash bags to lick grease stains. But they didn't come near this. I didn't connect the dots yet. But looking back, that was the first big red flag. Next night at work, Jolt cornered me by the fryer. Dude. He always spoke like every sentence was a caffeine emergency. What's up? You take chicken home last night? Yeah. Did it taste weird? I stared at him. Yes. Why? B-row same. I thought I was dying. I Googled tongue tingling after eating chicken for like 2 hours. What did Google say? That I should have been dead a long time ago. I sighed. You're dramatic, Renee chimed in from behind the counter. No, he's right, Tay. That shit tasted funky. Lucas agreed too. Then the manager walked in. Everything okay? His eyes scanned us too long. Lucas quickly said, just talking about the new spice blend. Mr. Garner's face twitched, just one muscle near his jaw. Then he said flatly, it's what corporate sent. Don't question it. He walked off. We all exchanged looks. Jolt whispered, "Man, I ain't eating that again. I want my tongue to tingle for the right reasons." Renee smacked him. "Shut up, idiot." But whether we liked it or not, we still had to cook it, and the customers still had to eat it. What we didn't expect was that customers would start craving it. At first, it was just small stuff. People who barely came once a week started showing up daily. They'd order bigger meals, a bucket instead of a two-piece, a family combo for one person. Then we started noticing their appearance. A truck driver named Hank, who normally came in with a loud laugh, looked like he hadn't slept in days. His beard was patchy, like he'd been scratching his face non-stop. A woman named Janet, usually polite and chatty, didn't speak a word. She just stared at the chicken warming behind me like she was staring at a winning lottery ticket. A teenager named Owen, who usually came after baseball practice, had pupils huge as quarters, and he kept shaking his legs so hard the table rattled. Renee whispered to me, "They look sick." Lucas muttered, "Or addicted." I didn't want to think about that. Addiction wasn't a topic I took lightly. My older brother spent 3 years fighting a pill addiction from a back injury. I knew the signs, and every regular checked off the signs like a list. Tremors, glaring eyes, pale skin, irritability, anxiety, scratching their arms like something itched inside their blood. The more chicken they ate, the worse they looked, but the more they wanted, and they wanted it desperately. This is the part where everything truly went to hell. It was a Friday night, payday for most folks in town. People lined up out the door, some looking like they hadn't slept in days. We fried chicken nonstop until our arms hurt, until grease coated our skin like armor. At 9:58 p.m., Lucas checked the walk-in freezer and came back pale. "That's it," he said quietly. "We're out." Renee replied, "We can't be. Not with this crowd." "We are. That last batch was everything," Jolt whispered. "Then we're screwed." The line grew louder, restless. Finally, a man in a blue flannel approached my register. His pupils were huge, his hands shook, his lips were dry and cracked. "One 12-piece bucket," he said. I swallowed. "I'm really sorry, sir. We're out for the night." He blinked. Once, twice, then his voice cracked like glass. "You're out? No, you're joking." "I'm not, sir. We'll restock in the morning." His breathing grew fast, violent. "You don't understand. I need it." Other customers started listening. A woman clutched her bucket tighter like someone might steal it. Another man began pacing. A teenager muttered, Nah, they can't be out, man, they can't." Then everything erupted. The man in flannel lunged, not at me, but at another customer who still had a fresh bucket. The woman screamed. He grabbed for the drumstick in her hand. She bit him, hard enough that I heard a crunch. A dozen people screamed and rushed in. They weren't fighting for money or anger or instinct. They were fighting for fried chicken, like animals, like addicts deprived of their fix. People were clawing, biting, scratching. Buckets spilled. Chicken scattered across the floor. And a horrifying thing happened. They ate it. Off the floor, off the counter, off each other's hands. Like it didn't matter, it was covered in dirt and blood. We locked ourselves in the kitchen. Jolt cried quietly. Renee prayed under her breath. Lucas held a metal tray like a shield. I called the police. "Send help," I begged. "Please, just send someone." It took them 8 minutes. 8 minutes in which the dining room turned into a battlefield. When police finally stormed in, the scene was something I'll never forget. People covered in grease and blood, chewing chicken bones on their knees. Some unconscious, some hallucinating, some screaming about needing just one more piece. It took 3 ambulances, 3 cop cars, 4 stretchers, but eventually the chaos died. Or so we thought. When the police asked where our manager was, Lucas said calmly, "He stepped out back to wait for you." The officers exchanged confused looks. No one was out back. That's when it hit us. He ran, not walked, not left. Ran like he knew what was coming. Police took samples of the spice mix and chicken. They asked questions for hours. We answered everything. When the results came back a few days later, it wasn't some cheap corporate recipe. The spice mix contained a chemical compound similar to an illegal synthetic stimulant banned years ago for causing violent addiction and psychosis. The manager had tampered with the recipe. He wasn't trying to cook chicken. He was trying to create customers who couldn't stop coming back. And he succeeded. Too well. He disappeared from the town. Never found. Never arrested. Our KFC shut down afterward. Permanently. The sign still stands on Route 9. The bucket faded by weather. The windows boarded. The parking lot cracked. Whenever I drive past, I feel sick. Because I didn't warn anyone. I didn't stop serving the chicken. I didn't trust my instincts. If I had spoken sooner, if I had thrown away the spice bags, if I had called corporate, if I had quit, maybe a dozen people wouldn't be stuck in rehab today, shaking through withdrawals from something they never chose to be addicted to. Sometimes at night, I hear screams outside my apartment, but when I check, nobody's there. Sometimes I dream of customers crawling across the floor, grease on their mouths, begging me for just one more piece. And sometimes I swear I still smell that sweet, bitter floral scent, even though the KFC is gone, even though I haven't eaten fried chicken in months, even though I triple-check my windows at night. I still wonder if Mr. Garner is out there, somewhere, maybe working at another fast food place, maybe ready to start over, maybe mixing something into new spices. And maybe, just maybe, one day I'll be the customer eating something I shouldn't. Something that tastes just a little bit sweet, just a little bit bitter, just a little off, and by then, it'll already be too late. I haven't spoken my real name in years. Hell, I don't think I deserve to. For the sake of this confession, call me Jalen Crow. I'm writing this from a tiny rented room above a beat-up auto shop on the edge of Hills Creek, Ohio. A quiet town that looks harmless from the outside, like something out of a weekend postcard. But I've learned that towns like this hide the ugliest secrets. And I'm ashamed to admit I helped bury one of the worst. People think guilt fades with time. Whoever said that has never carried the kind of guilt that wakes you up choking at 3 a.m., sweating through your sheets, praying the nightmares don't crawl into your real life. So if this story sounds shaky, or I ramble a bit, forgive me. I'm trying to tell it straight, everything I've locked inside. And maybe if I finally speak it, I'll sleep for one damn night. I started working at KFC off Route 67 when I was 19, broke, dropping out of community college, and desperate to pay rent. I figured it'd be a temporary gig, just long enough to get me back on track. But money, it traps you. KFC was the first place that didn't fire me after 2 weeks. The manager then, Mr. Alden Price, was one of those old-school country guys. Gray beard, heavy boots, voice like gravel. He always called me son, even though he knew my dad was very much alive, but very much absent. I worked there for 10 years. 10 years of breading chicken, mopping floors, and listening to customers complain about cold fries. And weirdly, I loved the routine. Something about the smell of the fryer mixed with cheap disinfectant reminded me of stability, the one thing my childhood never had. I got to know the regulars, old ladies, truck drivers, overworked moms, high school kids ditching class. It was home, in a messed up way. But nothing made the job better than Kendrick, the quiet 12-year-old who came almost every evening. Everyone called him Kenny, but he introduced himself to me as Kendrick, full name only, with his chest puffed out like he was making a business deal. He had a chipped front tooth, a hoodie 2 sizes too big, and this nervous habit of rubbing his thumb across his knuckles when he lied. And he lied a lot, little kid lies, the kind that hide pain. One night after close, he admitted why he stayed so long. "Look, man," he said, staring at the floor tiles. "My folks, they fight loud, like crazy loud, throw stuff at each other loud. So I just chill here, 'cause it's normal noise, not that. I swear, something inside me cracked when he said that. I grew up around the same kind of yelling, so I let him hang around more than I should have. I'd comp him meals sometimes, gave him extra biscuits, let him sit behind the counter. I know corporate rules would have chewed my ass out, but I didn't care. He needed someone. I guess that's why what happened later burned so deep. It started on a Thursday. The exact date is burned into my head, October 12th, 2018. That was the night Mr. Price called me into his office, close to 11 p.m. He closed the door softly, sat down across from me, folded his hands. "Jalen," he said, in a tone too calm, "you've been loyal, 12 years, that matters." I gave a half smile. "Yeah, I mean, this place kinda raised me." He looked directly at me, eyes colder than usual. "How would you feel about taking on more responsibility?" My heart jumped. "Like, manager?" He nodded slowly, but then he said something that didn't fit. "Responsibility comes with more eyes on you, more decisions, hard ones. You sure you can do that, son?" "Absolutely," I said immediately. He exhaled through his nose. "I hope you mean that." I brushed it off at the time, thinking he was just being dramatic. God, if only I'd listened to the warning in his tone. The hooded man, my last week as a regular employee, was full of night shifts. That's when I first saw him. Tall, heavy build, shoulders slumped forward. Wearing a dark red hoodie pulled so low you couldn't see his face. He never spoke above a whisper, never made eye contact. The first night he walked in at 9:42 p.m. on the dot. Ordered the same thing every time. 10-piece spicy. No sides, extra crispy. I remember repeating his order back to him. He leaned in slightly and whispered, "Are they the finger-licking kind?" I laughed awkwardly. Yeah, man. They're crispy." He didn't smile, just nodded once. He disturbed me in a way I couldn't explain. Not scary at first, just unsettling, like something was fundamentally wrong with him, but you couldn't pinpoint what. Every night that week, he showed up. Same time, same order, same seat, and Kendrick always sat 2 tables away, happily chewing away, talking my ear off about whatever middle school drama he was dealing with. It felt safe, normal, until that night. The night of the promotion, my final shift before becoming manager. If I knew what was coming, I would have quit on the spot. It was around 11:30 p.m. The dining area was empty except for Kendrick and the hooded man. I stepped outside to toss the trash, maybe gone 3 minutes max. When I came back, the dining room was empty. Kenny's food untouched, his backpack still open, his drink sweating on the table. My stomach dropped. Kendrick? Nothing. I checked the bathrooms, empty. Checked the back hallway, nothing. Then I heard something that made my blood freeze. A metallic clatter from the kitchen. Something like a tray dropping, followed by soft whistling. A slow, cheerful tune, completely out of place. I walked toward the kitchen door. My hand was shaking on the handle. When I pushed it open, what I saw didn't make sense at first. The hooded man was standing at the fryers, and he was cooking. "Hey," I shouted, "what the hell are you doing back here?" He didn't turn. Instead, he said in that same low whisper, "His shift is over, mine starts now." I felt anger spike. "Dude, you need to get out. This is employees only." He ignored me and reached into his hoodie pocket. I thought maybe he had a weapon, but no. He pulled out a small jar, opened it, and began dropping something into the boiling oil one by one. Plop, plop, plop. At first, I thought it was fries covered in ketchup. Then I looked closer and saw the nails and the raw, torn skin. He was dropping human fingers into the fryer. My vision tunneled. My legs felt weak. I stumbled backward and tripped over something. I looked down. It was Kendrick. His small body splayed on the floor like a broken toy. arms limp, hands mutilated. Every finger was gone. A sound left my throat that wasn't human. I screamed, crawled backward, tried to stand, tried to run. That's when another figure appeared behind me. Mr. Price, still wearing his manager uniform, holding his key ring, calm, quiet. "Keep it down, Jalen," he said, closing the kitchen door behind him. "You don't want to scare off the customers, do you?" What the hell? What did you do?" I screamed. He sighed like I was being dramatic. "Mr. Ganton here," he said, nodding toward the hooded man, "is our night specialist, part of our flavor operations." I stared at him, jaw trembling. Flavor? Flavor? That's a child." "Son," Price interrupted sharply, "good food needs good ingredients. You think our crispy recipe got popular by accident?" He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Fine wine enhances cooking. Same with properly seasoned human fingers. Adds depth, richness. Makes customers crave it without knowing why." I felt bile rise in my throat. The hooded man, Mr. Ganton, turned around finally, and I saw his face. Half melted, scarred, twisted like old wax. He had the blank eyes of a slaughterhouse worker. He lifted a single crispy wing toward me. "Try it," he whispered. "Fresh batch." I shook my head violently. I won't, I can't." Price grabbed my arm. "These are the responsibilities you said you were ready for, Jalen. Every manager goes through this. I did, and now it's your turn to choose." My heart was pounding so hard I felt it in my teeth. I looked at Kendrick on the floor, dead, because I let him stay, because I thought giving him a warm place to sit made me a good person, and something broke inside me. Not courage, not morality, something darker. A voice in my head whispered, "You've worked 12 years for this. You wanted that promotion. You need this job. Just do it. Just one time. Just survive." My hand moved on its own. I took the wing. I bit into it. The taste. God help me, the taste was unlike anything I'd ever had. Sweet, rich, wrong, but addicting. A flavor that hit something primal in the brain. Price smiled. And that night, I became part of their machine. For 5 years, I managed that store. Every missing person poster that went up on telephone poles. I knew exactly where the bodies went. Some nights I helped clean. Some nights I pretended I didn't hear the screams. Some nights I told myself I had no choice. But Kendrick's face never left me. I saw him every night in my dreams. And sometimes, when I'm alone, I swear I hear his voice. "Why'd you let me stay, Jalen? Why didn't you send me home? Why I'm telling you this now. 3 weeks ago, Mr. Price vanished. No warning, no goodbye. And suddenly, I'm next in line. Not for a promotion, for the role Ganton held. They told me last night that it's time for my shift. So I left town, ran, hid, and now I'm writing this because I know they're coming. People like them don't let loose ends live. If you're reading this, if anyone finds this, don't eat there. Don't eat anywhere near Route 67. Don't trust the smiles of people who handle your food. And whatever you do, if someone whispers, 'Are they the finger-licking kind?' Run." I never thought a minimum wage job could scar me for the rest of my life. Most people think fast food jobs are harmless, maybe stressful, maybe annoying, but harmless. I used to think the same thing. I used to joke with my friends that the only dangerous thing at KFC was the fryer oil or slipping on a wet floor. But after everything that happened, after that night, after him, I can't even drive past a KFC anymore without my chest tightening. Let me start at the beginning, because if I don't tell it from the start, nothing about what happened will make sense. And even then, sometimes I wonder if it makes sense at all. I was 19 when it happened, a broke college kid at Southline Community College in Pennsylvania, living off ramen, campus coffee, and the hope that someday I wouldn't have to check my bank balance before buying laundry detergent. I took the KFC job because it was the closest place to the bus stop, and the manager didn't make me wear a tie. That's literally all it took. My manager's name was Reynold Briggs. Everyone just called him Ray. He was tall, bald, always smelled like coffee and fryer oil, and somehow managed to look stressed even when he was laughing. He hired me in 6 minutes. Can you work nights? Yes. You good with people? I mean, I don't hate them. That counts. Start Monday. That was it. And honestly, for the first few months it wasn't bad. I wasn't trying to build a career at KFC. I was just trying not to starve. We had a small crew. Ray, the manager Sierra, the drive-through queen who could bag chicken faster than any human alive Julian, the cook who barely spoke but made the crispiest wings, me, the dude who did whatever was left to do. And then, 3 months into my job, someone new joined us. Someone who would change everything. His name was Alden Brooke. Not Alden like old money rich kid. Alden like a name someone finds in a baby book and goes, "Yeah, this sounds unusual." He came in for an interview on a Monday afternoon. Quiet kid, maybe 20 or 21. Brown hair that fell into his eyes, baggy hoodie, skinny enough to look like he survived off vending machine snacks. Ray told me to sit in for the interview. "Just vibe check him," he said. "You're good at reading people." I wasn't, but okay. Alden sat across from me, hands clasped tight, foot bouncing nonstop. His voice was soft when he talked. "I really want this job," he said. "I've always liked KFC, since I was a kid, like, a lot." The way he said it felt intense, like the job meant more to him than it should. But he was polite, nervous, a little weird but harmless weird, not scary weird. I recommended him. Looking back, I wish I hadn't. At first, Alden was the dream employee, always early, always smiling, always doing more than asked. He wiped down machines without being told. He memorized the menu in 2 days. He learned the fryers like he'd studied them for years. One night he looked at the racks of fresh chicken and said, "Man, the skin is like perfect here." I laughed. "Yeah, bro, that's kind of KFC's thing." He nodded too many times, like I'd said something profound. Weird, but harmless. But slowly, things changed. His eyes got darker, his face hollowed out. He started wearing the same hoodie every day. Sometimes he'd show up 2 hours early and just sit at a table. Sometimes he'd show up 30 minutes late, sweaty and unfocused, like he'd run across town. He stopped talking to us. He only talked to the chicken. I'm not trying to be dramatic. He literally muttered to the trays of chicken while breading them. Sierra said one day she heard him whisper, "Don't worry, I won't let them waste your skin. Your skin's the best part." We joked about it then. Nobody joked later. It started small. A tender here, a few wings there. Every restaurant has food loss. It's normal, but then whole orders were missing pieces. Customers complained. Ray got pissed. Security footage was checked. And somehow, Alden always happened to be off screen or just out of frame every time something went missing. One night, Sierra said, "I swear on my mom, he was crouched behind the walk-in cooler door eating something. I heard chewing, wet chewing." Julian, who rarely spoke, muttered, "It was the skin." We laughed nervously, but it wasn't funny, not anymore. It was a rainy Thursday night. We were understaffed, tired, and the dinner rush was insane. Ray pulled me aside. "Listen," he whispered, "I gotta let Alden go, tonight." I felt my stomach drop. "You want me there?" I asked. "No, he likes you. I don't want you involved." "Ray, you sure he's not gonna freak out?" Ray sighed. "He's weird, not violent. I've fired worse. I wish, God, I wish he'd listen to his gut instead of his pride." Alden clocked in an hour later. He didn't say hi. He didn't smile. He just walked straight to the back like someone on autopilot. Ray followed him into the office. The door closed behind them. I expected it to take 5 minutes. It took too long. 20 minutes. 30. 40. Sierra frowned. Dude, should we check on him? Julian shook his head slowly. Ray doesn't take this long. I swallowed hard. You guys hear anything? I asked. We listened. Nothing. No voices, no footsteps. Not even paper shuffling. Just silence. Heavy, suffocating silence. A weird chill crawled up my spine. Something was wrong. I knew it. We all knew it. But nobody wanted to open that door. Finally, after almost an hour, I couldn't take it anymore. I'm going, I said. Sierra grabbed my arm. No, just call him. I tried. He's not answering. My chest felt tight. I pushed the office door open. What I saw inside still visits me in nightmares. The room looked normal at first glance. Desk, chair, clipboard. Ray's coffee still steaming. But Ray wasn't in the chair, or standing, or anywhere. Then I saw something on the floor behind the desk. A shoe. Ray's shoe. My breath caught. I stepped forward, and my voice ripped out of my throat in a scream. Ray was on the floor, face purple, eyes open, glassy, neck bruised all around. At first I thought he'd had a heart attack and fell wrong. Then I saw the blood. Thick streaks of red drenched his apron, and worse, patches of skin were missing from his arms, his stomach, his shoulder, like something had ripped pieces off. Not cut, not sliced, ripped. My stomach turned. Something behind me moved. I spun. Alden stood in the doorway, barefoot, covered in sweat, hands shaking. No hoodie, no shirt, just KFC pants and a blank stare. His voice cracked into a smile. You found him. I stumbled back. Alden. What did you ever notice? He whispered. How the skin is better than the meat? I felt my blood freeze. He took a step toward me. I told Ray that. I told him not to fire me. You can't fire the only person who appreciates the skin. Alden, listen. You think I'm weird, right? He laughed. High, desperate. Everyone thinks I'm weird. Nobody's judging you. He snarled. Yes, they are. His nails dug into his own palm, drawing blood. I'm sick of people acting like I'm a freak. I'm sick of them wasting the best part. He stepped closer. I stepped back. Don't come near me, I whispered. Oh, but I like you, he said. You're the only one who talked to me. My chest was shaking so hard I could barely breathe. Then he lunged. He grabbed my arm and yanked me so hard I hit the file cabinet. Pain shot up my ribs. He leaned in, mouth near my shoulder, breathing fast. Just a taste, he whispered. Pure panic exploded inside me. I elbowed him in the ear. He staggered but didn't fall. I ran for the exit and made it 2 steps before something yanked my ankle. He dragged me backward. Don't fire me, he screeched. Don't fire me, I'm the best employee. My brain raced. Violence wouldn't stop him. He was stronger than he looked, driven by madness or adrenaline or both. So I did the only thing I could think of. Alden, I choked out. Wait, stop, I'm not firing you. He froze. You're not... What? I swallowed hard. You're not fired. Ray promoted me, and I'm promoting you. You hear me? You're staying. You're still an employee. His breathing slowed. You're serious? Yes. You're employee of the month if you want. Just get up, come on. His face softened, completely transformed. Employee of the month? He whispered. Yeah, but you gotta go help Sierra in the kitchen. We're short-staffed. He nodded fast. Okay, I can do that. And just like that, he ran out the door, smiling. I slammed it shut and locked it. Seconds later, muffled screams erupted from the kitchen. Sierra, Julian, customers. I called 911 with shaking hands. Police came within minutes. They tackled Alden near the fryers, still yelling about being employee of the month. He didn't resist, didn't cry, didn't even look scared. He just kept smiling. They found skin under his nails, blood on his tongue, Ray's DNA on his clothes. News broke fast. Turns out, Alden came from a family with a long record of violence, psychological issues, run-ins with the law, and 2 family members wanted for serious crimes. Alden didn't go to prison. He was declared mentally unfit. He was transferred to a psychiatric hospital indefinitely. I quit the job a week later. I changed my major. I moved out of Pennsylvania. I tried to rebuild my life, but even now, some nights I swear I can hear his voice whispering behind me. The skin is the best part. Every time I feel someone standing too close behind me in line. Every time someone taps my shoulder. Every time I see someone with that blank, unfocused stare. I remember that night. And I remember how close I came to becoming the next missing skin. I still think about Ray. I still think about that office floor. And I still think about the look Alden gave me when the cops dragged him out. Like he was disappointed in me. Like he expected me to save him. Like he thought we were friends. Sometimes I wonder if I had shown up early that day. If I had been the one Ray called into the office first, would I have survived? Or would Alden have peeled me like the chicken he worshipped? I don't know. And I don't want to know. All I know is I will never work in fast food again. And I will never, ever eat KFC skin again. I never thought a fast food restaurant could change the way I look at people forever. Not a place like a KFC off a quiet highway, next to a pawn shop and a Dollar General. Definitely not a place I'd grown up eating at since I was old enough to chew. But the truth is, what happened that night still keeps me awake. Before I tell you what went down, I need you to understand something about me and about my family, because without the backstory, the ending won't hit you the way it hit me. My name, well, the name I'll use here is Ryland Shore. I'd just turned 21 back then, living with my mom Janet and my stepdad Joel in a little town outside Akron, Ohio. Money wasn't great. Tension in the house wasn't great either. Joel and I barely spoke without raising our voices. He was old school, strict, believed in earning your place under the roof. I was working part-time at a sporting goods outlet. Mom kept saying, "Baby, you gotta think about moving out someday, start your life." And I wanted to, believe me. But life felt stuck, heavy, like somebody'd put a hand on your shoulder and wouldn't let you move forward no matter how hard you leaned. Still, there was one thing we all shared, no matter how rough things were: KFC nights. Sounds dumb, right? But for years, it was our reset button. Birthdays, report cards, small celebrations, didn't matter. Cheap bucket of chicken, plastic trays, sticky tables. Somehow it grounded us. So when I finally told them I'd found a roommate in Cleveland and was planning to move out in 2 weeks, Mom said, "Then we're doing one last KFC night together. No arguments." Joel actually cracked a smile for once. "Yeah, kid, one more bucket before you forget about your old folks." I thought it'd be nostalgic, maybe a little emotional. I didn't think it would be the night I understood how unsafe the world could truly be. We went on a Friday. The sun had already dipped and the parking lot lights flickered like they were tired. I noticed 2 things the second we stepped inside. The place was way too quiet for a Friday. The staff looked on edge like they were waiting for something. We grabbed a booth near the window. Joel ordered his usual, the 12-piece family meal. I kept trying to spark conversation, but it felt awkward. Like we all knew this was a goodbye dinner, even if nobody said it out loud. Mom eventually sighed and nudged me. "Rylan, hun, stop staring holes into your mashed potatoes. Talk to us." I laughed weakly. "Just thinking, that's all. 2 weeks from now, everything changes." Joel wiped his hands and said, "Change ain't bad. Might be good for you. And hell, the house'll finally be quiet." It was the closest thing to encouragement he ever gave me. That's when he excused himself to the restroom. Mom and I were mid-conversation when the front door banged open so hard the glass rattled. A man walked in, but not just any man. He was dressed exactly like Colonel Sanders. White suit, black string tie, cane. Hell, he even had the perfect white goatee and glasses. At first, I actually thought it was some kind of hired actor, maybe some promotional thing, because who the hell else would walk into a KFC like that? But then he spoke, and his voice didn't match the smile on his face. Well, howdy folks. Mighty fine evening in this here establishment. Heads turned. A couple kids even giggled, but most of the adults stiffened. The guy's energy felt off, like someone imitating friendliness, but missing that human spark underneath. The employees behind the counter looked terrified. One of them, a girl named Lexi, whose name tag was crooked, whispered to another worker, "Dude, that's him. That's gotta be him." The other guy shook his head quickly. "No way. Manager said cops were handling it." My mom leaned closer to me. "Do you know what's going on?" I shook my head. The colonel tapped his cane against the linoleum floor, too loudly. "Now, I'll be conducting a quality inspection today, making sure every last one of y'all's meals is up to good old-fashioned Kentucky standards." He started walking table to table. He didn't blink. He didn't look away from whatever customer he talked to. And every time he finished his questions, he ended with, "Tell me, friend, is it finger-licking good?" Some people chuckled nervously. Others muttered a quick, "Yeah, sure." But his stare lingered too long, like he was memorizing their hands, their fingers. He approached an older man near the drink station. "How's that sandwich treating you, partner?" Fine. Fine ain't good enough." He leaned in, eyes locked on the man's hands gripping the wrapper. "Tell me now, is it finger-licking good?" The old man swallowed hard. "Yes?" The colonel smiled, but his eyes didn't change. Then he brought his own fingers to his mouth and slowly licked them while staring dead into the man's face. People shifted uncomfortably. Mom whispered, "Rylan, please tell me this is some TikTok prank." I wished I could. Then the colonel turned and began walking straight toward our booth. He arrived with a dramatic tip of his hat. "Well now, ain't this something sweet? A young man sharing supper with his mama." Mom smiled politely. I tried not to show how uneasy I felt, but the man's eyes locked onto mine like he was reading my future off my skin. "You a good boy, aren't you?" I stiffened. I guess." He leaned closer, his breath smelling faintly like raw chicken fat. "How's the chicken treating you, son?" "It's fine." He didn't move. "Is it up to your standards?" "Yeah." The edges of his smile twitched like he was stretching skin he wasn't used to wearing. "Then tell me something important." He lowered himself to one knee beside me, fast like it was rehearsed. "Is it finger-licking good?" My stomach twisted. His eyes were locked, not on my face, but my hands gripping the biscuit. He reached for my wrist. Mom tensed. "Excuse me, sir." Suddenly, "Hey!" Joel's voice boomed from behind the colonel. He grabbed the man by the collar and yanked him backward so violently the man lost his hat and hit the floor. "Get your hands off my kid, freak!" The colonel didn't fight. He didn't even look upset. He just started laughing. A weird, breathy, broken laugh. Then he got up, brushed off his suit, tipped an invisible hat toward us, and walked straight out the front door. Mom was shaking. Joel looked like he wanted to go after the guy, but then the manager rushed over, pale as a ghost. "Sir, ma'am, please don't leave yet. We might need statements." "Statements for what?" I asked. The manager swallowed hard. "Because that's not an actor. That's the guy the police warned us about." Mom's voice cracked. "Warned you? He's been breaking into KFCs all over the county, dressed as the colonel, harassing customers, grabbing their..." He stopped. "Grabbing their what?" I asked. The manager whispered it. Their fingers. My blood ran cold. Joel muttered, "We're leaving." And we did. I didn't speak for the rest of the ride home, because I knew exactly how close that man's hand had gotten to my wrist. 2 nights later, I found Mom and Joel staring at the TV. The headline read, "Colonel Imposter Arrested After Multiple Assaults." The anchor continued, "The suspect allegedly bit off fingers of multiple victims across 5 fast food locations. Witnesses report he targeted customers with greasy hands before fleeing each scene." My knees buckled. Mom whispered, "That could have been you." Joel placed a hand on my shoulder. For once, it wasn't heavy. It wasn't controlling. It felt protective. "Glad you're still here, kid." And for the first time in a long time, I hugged him back. I moved out 2 weeks later, but every time I drive past a KFC, every time I see chicken grease on my hands, I remember the man kneeling beside me, his fingers twitching toward mine, his smile stretching wider than it should, and his voice whispering, "Is it finger-licking good?" And I swear, sometimes even now I feel someone watching my hands. I never imagined flipping chicken at a fast food joint would be the reason I still can't sleep right. But here we are. Before anything else, you should know one thing about me. I wasn't supposed to stay in my hometown of Cranesville, Ohio. I graduated high school with average grades and big dreams, but life hit me harder than I expected. My mom got sick, medical bills kept stacking up, and college didn't seem like something meant for people like me. So I took the first full-time job I could get, KFC on Ridgeview Avenue, a place where the smell of fryer oil clung to your clothes like a second skin, where the tile floors were always a little too greasy no matter how much degreaser we dumped on them, and where the customers ranged from sweet old ladies to people who looked like they hadn't slept since 1998. But nothing prepared me for him. Before I get to that though, let me take you to the beginning. Because if I don't explain how all this started, none of what happened later will make sense. I was walking to work on a Tuesday morning, the kind of morning where the sky is gray for no reason, and the pavement looks like someone smeared misery all over it. I had my backpack slung over one shoulder, earbuds in, listening to some old school rap just to stay awake. When I turned the corner toward Ridgeview Avenue, I almost crashed into him. A man, standing right in front of the KFC, dressed, no joke, exactly like Colonel Sanders. White suit, black bolo tie, cane, even the damn glasses. Except everything was off. The suit was yellowed, stained. The glasses had cracks spiderwebbing across one lens. His beard was uneven, patchy, almost like it was glued on. He looked at me with a grin that showed way too many teeth for a normal smile. "Morning, kid," he said, shaking a plastic cup with a couple coins in it. "Got some change for an old Southern gentleman?" I froze. He smelled like stale beer and cold French fries. From behind me, a car horn blared, and someone shouted, "Don't mind him, man. That's just Roof Jack." Roof Jack. That was the nickname the neighborhood gave him. Rumor was he'd been sleeping on rooftops around the area for months. I pulled one earbud out. Sorry, man," I muttered. "I'm broke, just trying to get to work." The man in the colonel suit leaned in, invading my personal space. "You work here?" he asked. "At the Chicken Palace." "Yeah." He tapped my shoulder twice with his cane. "Then you owe me, son. None of this would exist without me. The least you can do is bring a hungry man a leg or two." I stepped back. "Bro, I barely get a lunch break, and I'm barely making minimum wage." His eyes narrowed. For a second, they looked angry. Then all at once, the smile came back. "You have a nice day now," he said, voice suddenly sweet. I didn't know it then, but that was the start of everything. Inside the KFC, the usual chaos greeted me. Sizzling oil, order screens flashing non-stop. The floor manager, Reese, yelling at someone in the back, "Keep the biscuits rotating, guys. This ain't a buffet." Reese was a tank of a guy, bald, intimidating, but honestly fair. He was the reason I hadn't quit yet. "Yo, Landon," he called out when he saw me. "Clock in, brother. Night shift's been complaining we're losing chicken again." I sighed. "Again? For real?" Reese rubbed his temples. "Corporate's breathing down my neck. If we lose another box of thighs, they're gonna audit us." I put my bag away and tied my apron. That's when Kiara, one of my co-workers, walked past with a tray. "Somebody better stop eating all the chicken," she said. "I swear if this keeps up, they're gonna start frisking us before we go home." "No one's taking anything," I said. "Why would anyone risk their job for leftover chicken?" She shrugged. "People do weird shit when they're broke." At the time, I didn't think too much of it. We were a busy location. Maybe someone miscounted inventory. Maybe the day crew messed up. But it kept happening, day after day, box after box, gone. And because I worked nights, I was the one everyone side-eyed. One Thursday night, Reese pulled me into his office. He shut the door behind me, which he never did unless something was serious. "Sit," he said. My stomach dropped. "Landon, someone's snatching chicken on your shift, and corporate thinks it's you." My head snapped up. "What? Dude, come on. Why would I steal chicken? You know I bring my own lunch." "I know," he said, rubbing his forehead. "But the only time the missing inventory matches is when you're here." "That doesn't mean it's me," I said. "What about the day shift?" "I watch the day shift myself. Nothing goes missing then." My heart was racing. "Reese, man, I swear I'm not taking anything. Someone else has to be breaking in or something." Reese exhaled heavily. "If it happens again, I have to let someone go, and they're pointing at you." I couldn't believe it. I felt betrayed. Like no matter how hard I worked, I was always going to be the guy blamed for something. So I decided something that night. I wasn't moving from the front counter at all. Not unless I had to. I was going to prove someone else was behind this. It was a Friday, busy day, people ordering buckets like it was Thanksgiving. By the time 11:40 p.m. rolled around, my legs were killing me. The store was empty except for me, Kiara, and Reese. Kiara left at 11:45, waving goodnight. Reese was in the office doing closing paperwork. I stayed at the front, watching the kitchen like a hawk. 11:52 p.m. a thud echoed from the back. My head jerked up. "Yo, Reese," I called out. No response. I grabbed a towel hook just in case and started walking toward the stockroom. Every step felt heavier. As I got closer, I heard it chewing. Violent, hungry chewing. Like an animal tearing through raw meat. I froze. Something inside me said turn around. But my pride said open the door and end this. My hand shook as I grabbed the handle. I took a breath, swung it open, and almost puked. There he was, Roofjack, the fake colonel, standing over an open box of chicken, stuffing handfuls into his mouth, grease dripping down his beard. Eyes wide like he hadn't eaten in months. He turned slowly toward me. "Evening, kid," my voice cracked. How the hell did you get in here?" He licked his fingers one by one. "You folks make this stuff too good to ignore. And you make plenty. Why waste it? You're the one who's been stealing everything?" He chuckled. "Stealing? Nah, just taking what's owed." He took one step toward me. I panicked, slammed the door shut, and twisted the lock. Instantly, he slammed his fists against it from the inside. "Open this door, boy. I ain't done eating." I stumbled back, shaken. Reese, get out here." No answer. I sprinted to the front and grabbed the kitchen knife we used for slicing chicken fillets. My hands were trembling so bad, I almost dropped my phone, dialing 911. "Cranesville Dispatch, what's your emergency?" There's a man in our stockroom. He broke in. He's dressed like Colonel Sanders, and he's eating all the chicken. No, I'm not joking. Please send someone." It took 15 minutes for the cops to show up. Longest 15 minutes of my life. The whole time, I kept hearing him pounding the door, laughing, talking to himself. "You can't hide forever, boy." The cops burst through the stockroom door, and the room was empty. I felt my stomach drop. No, he was just here," I insisted. One officer shined his flashlight upward. "Hey, look at this." The ceiling panel was pushed open. The crawl space above was big enough for someone to move through. The officer looked at me. "He's been coming in through the roof, probably doing this for weeks." Later, they reviewed the outdoor cameras, and what they found made my blood run cold. Roof Jack, the fake colonel, would climb onto the roof, slip through the loose panel, drop directly into the stockroom, fill his pockets with chicken, and then climb back out, like some kind of deranged fried chicken-obsessed raccoon. But the worst part? They also found footage of him climbing into the giant decorative KFC bucket sign outside and sleeping inside it every single night. The cops searched the area, but they never found him. He vanished. I quit a week later. Couldn't do it anymore. Every thud in my house made me jump. Every time I saw a white suit, even on TV, my chest tightened. Reese apologized for accusing me, but the damage was done. Sometimes when I pass the KFC on Ridgeview, I swear I still see someone sitting inside the bucket sign. And some nights, when the streets get too quiet, I swear I hear chewing. Violent, hungry chewing. I never thought a minimum wage job would leave me waking up at night drenched in sweat, still tasting the smell of old frying oil and metal in the back of my throat. But here I am, months later, writing this because I can't sleep without feeling like someone is still standing behind me in that kitchen. Before everything went to hell, life was simple. I had graduated high school the year before, wasn't going to college, and was working full-time at a KFC off Harrington Road in a small Ohio town. My buddy Terrell, who I'd known since freshman year, worked at the tech stop across the parking lot, basically a GameStop knockoff. His store faced ours, so he saw our neon Colonel Sanders sign glow every night. We'd hang out after our shifts all the time. Sometimes I'd take him home if his car wasn't starting. Sometimes he'd come inside and grab food before I clocked out. Real brother-type bond. Back then, it felt like nothing bad could ever happen in a boring place like this. I wish I still believed that. That night started normal. "Yo, Nolan," Tyrell shouted across the lot while locking up Tech Stop. "You good for some Warzone later?" "Hell yeah," I yelled back. "I get off at 11. Hop on at like 11:30. He nodded. "Bet. And yo, bring me some biscuits. Those biscuits hit different." I laughed. "You gotta stop mooching off me, man." Everything felt light. Normal. Just another slow weekday night shift. Inside, though, things already felt off. Our shift manager, Ms. Griffin, wasn't there when I arrived. She was always early. And our opener, Rosa, should have been cleaning the prep counters, humming her old school Spanish songs like she always did. But the store was quiet. Only one person stood behind the register. Some guy I didn't recognize. Mid-40s maybe, pale skin, slicked back hair, thick round glasses. He wore a clean KFC polo but no name tag. I'd never seen him before. He turned to me slowly when I walked in. "Evening, Nolan," he said with a slow smile, like he had practiced my name. "Ready for a productive night?" My stomach dropped. Yeah, who are you?" He tightened his smile. "Corporate sent me. Surprise evaluation. I'm here to monitor quality and workflow." Corporate didn't do night evaluations. Ever. I said, "Is Ms. Griffin here yet?" "No," he said. "She had to leave early. Family emergency." That was lie number one. I found out later she never made it home. I clocked in anyway because what else was I supposed to do? The guy walked around the kitchen with a small notebook, writing things down every few minutes. He didn't speak much. He just watched. Stared, really. Every time I looked toward the front counter, he was already looking at me. Around 9:15 p.m., when no customers were in the lobby, I asked, "So, what's your name?" He answered without looking up, "You can call me Mr. Avery." "How long you gonna be evaluating? The whole shift?" He paused, then grinned. "Oh, I'll be here until the very end." Something about the way he said it made the fryer room feel 10 degrees colder. Around 9:40, I noticed something else weird. Nobody else came in. No drive-through orders, no DoorDash, no walk-ins. Not even that one old couple that came every Wednesday for 2 pieces of original recipe and a lemonade. It was like the town forgot our location existed. I asked, "Yo, is the system down or something?" "No," Mr. Avery said. "We're just not accepting orders right now." "Why not?" He smiled again. "Because I need you focused." "On what?" At around 10 p.m., the back door buzzer went off. I jumped. We rarely got deliveries that late. Mr. Avery didn't even react. "Would you get that?" he said calmly. I went to the door, checked the camera. Nobody was there, just darkness. But the buzzer kept going. I pressed the intercom. "Who's out there?" Nothing. Quiet. When I turned around, Mr. Avery was standing right behind me, like he'd moved without a sound. "You shouldn't open the door," he said softly. "Not tonight." I stepped back, heartbeat sprinting. "Bro, what the hell is going on?" He grinned, slow and wide. "We're preparing, that's all." "Preparing for what?" At 10:20, the front door chimed. I nearly cried with relief when I saw Tyrell walk in, hoodie up, tired from his shift. "Man, this place looks dead," he said. "Let me grab those biscuits before you toss them." Before I could answer, Mr. Avery stepped forward. "Sorry, young man," he said politely. "We're closed to the public." Tyrell laughed. "Closed? Dude, it's 20 past 10. They never close this early." "We're closed," Avery repeated, voice flat now. Tyrell looked confused. "Nolan, you good?" I swallowed. Just give me a sec, all right?" But Avery touched Tyrell's shoulder. Firm. Too firm. "Sir," he said, "you need to leave." Tyrell jerked back. "Yo, chill. Don't put your hands on me." Avery didn't break eye contact with him. "You don't want to be here for this." Tyrell grabbed my arm. "Dude, what's going on?" I whispered. "I don't know, man, but something's wrong." Avery spoke again. "Tyrell, correct? You shouldn't worry. Nolan will be home soon." Tyrell's eyes widened. "How do you know my name?" Avery smiled. "I know all my ingredients." Ingredients? That word hit me like ice water. "Tyrell, go," I whispered. "Please." He hesitated, but something in my face must have convinced him. He backed up slowly and left. I watched him jog to his car, confused and worried. I didn't know that would be the last normal moment of my life. At 10:40, the kitchen lights flickered. Avery walked into the supply room and left the door half open. I watched him pull a large black bag from inside, like a contractor bag. Then another. Then something heavy slid across the floor. My pulse hammered in my ears. I stepped closer. "Mr. Avery, what's in that bag?" He didn't look up. "Waste? What kind of waste?" "The kind that needs to disappear before a new menu rollout." I stared at the bags again. The shape, the size, large, human size. I backed up. "No," I whispered. "No, no, no." Avery finally turned toward me, glasses reflecting the harsh fluorescent light. "Nolan," he said softly, "you're promoted." "I'm leaving," I said. "I'm calling the cops." He chuckled. "You won't make it to the door." Before I could run, the security shutters slammed down across the windows with a metallic crash. The front door clicked electronically. Locked. "What did you do?" I shouted. Avery raised one hand toward the ceiling. "Corporate upgraded the building. Safety protocols." "This isn't safe. This is illegal." "Oh, everything we're doing is legal," he said, stepping closer. "You signed the paperwork. Remember? Agreement for extended duty conditions. That was for overtime. It was for much more." He stepped closer again, and I could finally smell him, like raw meat and cold metal. "You see, Nolan, Our company has a supply problem, chicken shortages. Corporate demands new solutions. I felt my knees weaken. You're lying. He smiled sadly. You ate the wings last week. Remember how you said they tasted different? My stomach turned. That wasn't chicken, Nolan. I ran, straight to the walk-in freezer. I yanked the door open and froze. Inside were stacks of sealed white bags, hundreds of them, no labels, but on the floor, one was torn open, and inside, a human arm, cold, pale, tossed in like leftover wings. I gagged, fell to my knees, gripping the shelf as the room spun. Avery's voice drifted from behind me. Innovation, Nolan. Customers want flavor consistency. Supply chains fail. People don't. I screamed, "You're a monster!" He tilted his head. "I'm a manager, Nolan, and I need my crew." I bolted past him, slipping on spilled ice. He walked calmly behind me, never rushing, never breathing hard. "Nolan," he called, "stop running. You've already been chosen." "Leave me alone," I yelled, grabbing a fryer basket as a weapon. Avery smirked. "That won't help you." I charged. He didn't move. At the last second, I realized why. Because someone else grabbed me from the side. A hand. Cold, rigid, human, but not alive. One of the bodies? No. Its skin was gray, jaw slack, eyes unfocused, like it had been chemically preserved. It held me with inhuman strength. "Meet our previous manager," Avery said gently. "He still helps with late-night prep." I screamed, struggled, kicked, but the thing didn't react. Avery stepped close, lifted my chin with one finger. "You'll make excellent tenders." The creature dragged me toward the prep table. I clawed at the metal floor. "No, please, please," Avery whispered in my ear. "Tell me, is it finger-licking good?" I blacked out. When I woke up, I was outside behind the dumpster. Cold, soaked in blood, but alive. Barely. The store was dark. No lights, no Avery, no bodies, no nothing. Police never believed me. Corporate said the location was shut down due to structural violations. Everyone involved disappeared, including Ms. Griffin, including Rosa. And sometimes, especially on quiet nights, I swear I can still taste that metallic aftertaste in my mouth, like something I shouldn't have survived, or something that's still inside me. I don't know why Avery let me live, or if he's coming back. But every night when I pass a KFC sign, my chest locks up and I hear his voice again. "You'll make excellent tenders." And one day, maybe he'll finish what he started.